Welcome to Swayambhu course NGOs and Sustainable Development, Unit 4, Module 26, Civil Society Initiatives for Sustainable Development. Learning Objectives. By the end of this module, you will be able to learn the role of civil society organizations for achieving sustainable development, comprehend how civil society organizations can contribute towards sustainable development. Now, what is a civil society? Civil society is a collection of professionally run organizations whose members discuss political and social issues or work together to achieve a shared objectives. It could comprise of family, it could comprise of business, market as well as the state. If it is going to be state, it involves the NGOs, NPOs, trade unions, etc. If it is the market, then it could involve social movement campaigns, networks, etc. If it is a business, then it could include academic organizations, faith based organizations, or if it is family, it could be a mass organization such as farmers organization, women's organization. So all of these comprise civil society as shown in the picture. So the voluntary, community based and social groups, institutions that support the society's operation but are unaffiliated with or unsupported by the government makes up the civil society. The term civil society refers to social and political power of homes or civil organizations as well as social movements, which is the space in between the state and the market. So, now what is a civil society organization? Now, civil society organization is used by the European Union and it refers to all non state, non profit, non partisan, and non violent organizations that individuals form to advance the common goals and ideas, whether they be political, cultural, social, or economic. It encompasses membership based, cause based, and service oriented groups such as community organizations, trade unions, faith based groups, foundations, research institutions, cooperatives, professional and business organizations, and not for profit media also. Thus, civil society includes the development NGOs. A robust civil society is the foundation of modern political parties. NGOs are the life source of a civil society. Is there a distinction between civil society and civil society organizations? There's a marginal difference. Policies or survey answers from members don't usually distinguish that there is a difference between civil society organizations and a civil society. It seems that a lot of individuals believe that CSO is the foundation of a civil society. Others view civil society as a broader category, as a field of human activity. This is how it is viewed in Finland. When it comes to Germany, Canada, and Ireland, it is said to be a composition of projects and social movements. If it is going to be the Czech Republic, then it is said to be volunteers, artists, journalists, and other participants who form the civil society. There are different typologies of civil society. They are the organizations that are normally registered entities and groups are known as civil society organizations, which also include the NGOs. In addition, there are faith based organizations, community based organizations. Social media communities that are organized online but do not necessarily have a physical, legal, or financial organizations. Labor unions and labor groups that represent employees. Collective social action and or identity movements can take place offline or online. Social entrepreneurs who use novel and or market oriented strategies to achieve a social and environmental goals also comes under this category. The role of civil society and civil society organizations in development cooperation is crucial, both as independent development actors as well as being implementing partners for development assistance committees. So, the Sustainable Development Goals must be implemented and upheld with accountability, and the Agenda 2030 makes the plan. The importance of civil society and civil society organization as development players is well acknowledged. CSOs are seen in two different ways: as an independent development agents in and of themselves. The second way people view CSO is as program implementers on behalf of its members. Members share quite different definitions of CSOs with slight differences. They fulfill the roles as providers of services in development and humanitarian situations. They contribute to policy development through dialogue and advocacy. They are the pioneers in democratization, human rights promotion, and protection. Now, when we look at the civil society in the context of public and private sector, we find that there is slight overlaps. In civil society organizations, when we see in the context of public sector, we find that public sector non-profit finds a place both in public sector as well as in civil society organizations. Now, the overlap between private sector as shown in the picture, we find that if it is going to be social economy businesses, then it finds a place in the private sector as well as in civil society organization. So these are the two overlaps as far as public and private sector is concerned. There is one more common overlap with all the three domains: public sector, private sector, and CSOs, which is community economic development. So when people talk about community economic development, it falls in the public sector as well as private sector, as also under CSOs. So depending upon the context, we can distinguish each entity. It is common to refer to civil society organization as one of the three spheres of action along with the public and private sector. People cooperate to meet the wants, beliefs, and interests that they have defined as being shared in this domain of uncoerced human association. A formal representation of a civil society is given by the CSO. Thus, civil society is considered as both gathering of the CSOs as well as other informal kind of people groups, as well as space in which they participate for social interaction. So now let us look at the roles of a civil society. The roles of the civil society includes relief and rehabilitation, advocacy, training, fostering human rights, encouraging new development schemes, delivering social service. The European Union recognizes that the civil society organizations play a number of important roles in society. So, as mentioned in the figure, it includes advocacy, mobilization, participation in policy making, accountability mechanisms, as well as aiding in the delivery of public services by the government. CSO takes on six crucial roles. The first is to listen to people. CSOs must proactively gather data, interact with communities. CSOs need to have a good relationship with communities to understand and encourage their genuine conversation. So, this is the place where NGOs are very useful, and they translate the human voice in the community to different projects. The second is to transform the opinion of the most marginalized and the poorest citizens into convincing justifications that the local government can consider. The SDGs offer CSOs a globally accepted frame of reference through which they can bring up issues and problems in the community and take it for policy discussions at the state government level and at the central government level. 3. Create connections or alliance with the local government, and in particular pinpoint the agencies, the individuals or institutions that must act to address these issues. The objective is to make sure that the local resources are properly mobilized. They can make sure that the accountability party or the department acts, and if not, they should follow up with the pertinent government officials or the agencies. The fourth important role that they have to play is utilize the analysis of human rights, identification of groups of people whose rights have been violated, disregarded, or unnoticed in the development process. This strategy also emphasizes the need to comprehend the reasons why these specific groups of people have had their rights violated. The fifth is to identify, engage with, and learn from other CSOs that interact with these groups. CSOs should emphasize the initiatives, pilot the projects, or remedies that are successful or unsuccessful. Through research advocacy, government lobbying, litigation, public opinion, mobilization, and other measures, CSO can bring the problems that are vital to their communities in their constituencies to the forum where it can take action. The sixth is to participate in advocacy and training processes that increases the public knowledge and the capacity for achieving the SDGs does play a crucial role to transform the society and the community. This will guarantee that when the local development goals are localized or brought down to the bottom line, people will be the SDGs primary focus, and thus they will be the most vulnerable members of the society who need not be left behind. Thus, we find CSOs can also create solutions and services that compete with those offered by the government, as well as contribute to the education of the public about the local and international problems and the promotion of appropriate action for behavior of individuals, groups, and organizations in accordance with its cultural, religious, and other heritage. Now, let us see the objective of working with CSOs and civil society. We all know that NGOs are part of the civil society. So, majority of the members, nearly 75%, as shown in a survey which was conducted, found that the state was working with the civil society organization, and civil society is essential in achieving a particular development goal. The other objectives include promoting humanitarianism and sustainable development, reducing poverty and raising the standards of living, eliminating inequalities, improving the economic livelihoods, as well as protecting the ecosystem and the environment. CSOs are frequently cited as essential partners for the realization of SDGs. CSOs, civil society organizations, can achieve the SDGs through the NGOs that are operating within its framework. Members have occasionally stated that their support for CSO service provision outside of the humanitarian sector is based on the subsidiarity doctrine, which holds that CSO should complement the government service delivery rather than replace the government's reforms. Now, how does CSO work in such a context? CSO acts as a service delivery agent. So, whatever the government has formalized or decided to give to the communities, then the CSO or the NGOs who are working within the CSO framework acts as the delivery agent. So, they take all the reforms that is postulated by the government to the bottom line people, the community, the marginalized people, so that they get the maximum benefit out of it. As a result, these actors must work together to create regulations, shape the demand, and deliver the service. CSOs are frequently more proficient at addressing such needs because they are more adaptable than the government and can find unique cutting edge development alternates so that they are able to deliver whatever government has taken up, the initiatives taken up by the government, and it is delivered to the common man. This is particularly relevant in regions affected by war or characterized by high level of poverty and those regions where access is very difficult. It is also found that the members fund CSOs as collaborators in the execution of service delivery related programs, which includes various kinds of humanitarian aid. For example, the Irish NGO played a very crucial role in responding to a humanitarian emergency, providing services where that was most needed and supporting the vulnerable people in the developing countries so that they're able to come together and participate in the development of those communities. The second is agents of accountability. Civil society has a crucial role in ensuring that the government is held accountable and whatever initiatives are formed by the government are the CSOs are instrumental in giving those initiatives ideas to the government, taking the requirements of the community. Responsibility, answerability, and enforceability are the three components of this accountability domain. So, when it comes to responsibility, it tells who is to be held responsible. Those positions of authority must have clearly defined responsibilities and performance standards that allow for the public as well as impartial evaluation of whatever initiatives they have brought into force. The second is answerability. Public leaders and organizations are required to provide rational and persuasive arguments for their activities and choices to those who will be impacted by them, including the general public, voters, and other institutions. So, the NGOs who are within the framework of the civil society organizations hold the government responsible. They hold the government accountable and they ensure that the government answers to the needs of the society. Enforceability also can be carried out by the civil society organization. So they ensure that enforceability is in place, whatever has been drafted, it doesn't remain as a paper, but it is implemented and it is taken to the communities. So NGOs have a very crucial role in bringing in accountability in any project development, in bringing the development into the project level so that it is up and running. The third is human rights and democratization. Organizations cooperate with CSOs to achieve a specific development goal or to implement programs related to human rights and democratization. For example, the NORAD encourages CSOs to work towards inclusion and holds the government accountable for preserving the human rights as part of their CSO support program. Other goals include democratization as well as human rights. One goal of Italy's CSO support is to strengthen the CSO's ability to carry out Italy's development cooperation priorities, which include support for the democracy under the law of gender equality, promotion of human rights, etc. The European Commission intends to contribute to a vibrant, diverse, and a capable civil society, fostering favorable conditions for the civil society organizations in their partner nations, encouraging civil society participation in partner country policies, enhancing the ability of the CSOs in partner countries to function as independent development players. Now, let us see the role of civil society in terms of environmental governance. Now, we know that NGOs have a very important role in preserving our environment, in protecting our environment. So, as a civil society, what is their role towards environmental governance? It was emphasized that creating partnerships between the government and an engaged civil society and the general public will make it very accountable and this will help in sustainable development. Public participation is essential for establishing an environmentally sustainable future. The most significant ecological issues for our time cannot be resolved only by the government. The NGOs have to hold hands with the government, and all the civil society organizations also have to partner with the government if we want to take care of the environment. This challenge can only be resolved by creating partnerships within the civil society organizations. In the realm of environmental governance, Indian civil society have attempted to fill this gap precisely. NGOs are thought to be the most important players in the field of environmental governance. Thus, a civil society's five primary tasks in environmental governance have been highlighted. They are gathering, analyzing, disseminating information, contributing to the formation of agendas and policies, carrying out operational duties, assessing the environmental conditions, monitoring whether everybody comply with those regulations and what are the environmental agreements, and finally promoting environmental justice. Though public interest litigations, Indian civil society have not only influenced government policies, frameworks, but have also produced significant legal advancements. The right to life under Article 2136 and Article 48A4 of the Directive Principles of State Policy states that the state shall work to protect and improve the environment as well as protect the Indian woodlands, forests, wildlife, and all this needs to be reclaimed in India. NGOs in environmental governance. What is the role of NGOs? We have seen the role of civil societies. Now, what is the role of NGOs, which is operating within the framework of civil society with regard to environmental governance? Some of the cases include water management. India, a nation with the highest number of social and environmental disputes in the world, has a great deal of opportunity for civil societies towards environmental governance. The majority of conflicts are caused by improper water resource management and appropriation. The distribution of water is primarily seen as a social issue rather than a technical one, and it requires greater public involvement to be resolved. Many people talk about linking all the rivers so that we are able to manage the water, but everything is still in paper and yet to be implemented. Due to the state's failure to implement the Ganga Action Plan to eliminate or reduce pollution in the river Ganga, civil society organizations were created to further push this cause. The Sankat Mochan Foundation, SMF, one of those organizations, was successful in gaining the support at a global level, which puts pressure on the Indian government to embrace the alternate sewage treatment technology. However, as support for the international community slowly decreased, the government support for SMF also declined. However, it is still continued with other wastewater treatment facilities. Next, coming to forest management. 20 NGOs participated in an empirical study in three Indian states of Maharashtra, Andhra Pradesh, and Odisha to ascertain what is the potential role that they can play in community led common pool resources governance in the area of forestry. The study discovered that majority of the NGOs engage in activities that support long lasting collective action, including training in forest management, informing the public about pertinent state policies, encouraging exposure through visits to those areas, traveling to other communities so that we are able to share the knowledge and we are able to support the other communities, helped in forest management. In the states of Andhra Pradesh and Odisha, the civil society led coalitions were discovered to be actively and significantly involved with regard to forest policies. Three strategies that the civil society led coalitions should use to persuade the state actors are cognitive strategies, which entail promoting policy beliefs through the creation and dissemination of knowledge; executive strategies, which involve assisting or lobbying states, and normative strategies which involve influencing how an act or law is interpreted and the rules that should be framed as a result. The government has been accused of implementation delays, a lack of capacity, weak institutions, and other things by the CSCs in order to support their role in the implementation process. Next, coming to, we have seen water management, forest management. The third agenda is solid waste management. Due to the local government's inability to properly dispose of the solid garbage in the Pammal neighborhood of Chennai and its lack of institutional capability and financial resources, volunteers, mainly women from the area, formed a civil society. The group worked with the urban local government to dispose the solid trash. The company was able to implement sustainable waste management by turning the garbage into manure, and they used vermicomposting method. Such cases clearly indicate the role of CSOs, the role of civil society organizations, and what a potential effect it can have in environmental protection, in bringing about environmental governance. Now, what are the advantages of working with CSOs? The top advantage of both the member country and international CSOs as well as partner country CSOs is the ability of the civil society organization to reach to people in vulnerable situation or who are facing a high risk or discrimination, or those societies or communities which are marginalized. The second advantage is the proximity of the CSOs to the beneficiaries and the constituencies. So it is very easily to go to the micro level and understand and implement the projects. Another significant advantage is their capacity to support service delivery in the partner countries as well as their capacity to support for accountability. The fourth is empowerment process in the partner countries. Through fewer members choose the latter quality of the partner countries' CSOs. The ability to promptly deliver humanitarian aid, again with the latter being chosen by fewer members when it comes to civil society organizations from the partner countries, and the specialized skills and knowledge of the CSOs also come in handy. While member country and international CSOs are considered to have a significant comparative advantage in their capacity to raise public awareness and to engage citizens in the member countries, partner country CSOs are more frequently considered to have a significant comparative advantage than the member country and the international CSOs. Now let us see what are the disadvantages of working with CSOs, the civil society organization. As with any case, when there are advantages, there will be disadvantages. So one is duplication and lack of coordination among the CSOs. Two, limitations in the capacity is a common drawback when we work with the CSOs from partner countries, less commonly with the member country and worldwide CSOs. The third disadvantage is working with the member country and international CSOs as well as partner country CSOs almost equally presents a challenge in demonstrating and aggregating the development results. With regard to the member country and the international CSOs, half of the members and somewhat more than half with regard to partner country CSOs have concerns about the administration and the transaction costs. Legal and regulatory framework, because we are going to have international CSOs working with the member CSOs and sometimes with the partner CSOs. So the international legal framework has to be clearly understood as well as the partner country regulations, the laws of the land has to be clearly understood when we are working with CSOs coming from the international and the member country. More partner country CSOs than member country and international CSOs have identified because of the border and the distance, a lack of accountability, and sometimes transparency also. The seventh disadvantage is members also cite problems with duplication and the lack of coordination among themselves and other donors where they may be located across countries, across borders, and hence that also becomes a disadvantage. But however, all said and done, there is sustainability when the civil society participates, and hence we need to take care of civil society sustainability. So the ability of organized and loosely organized citizen organization and groups need to continuously respond to the changes happening at the national and international public policies. They need to respond to any governance gaps that are existing and also ensure they are up to date with the legal and the regulatory framework happening within the country as well as in the international fora. Through coherent, deliberate strategies of mobilizing and effectively utilizing the diversified resources, strengthening the operations and leaderships, promoting transparency and accountability, and forging forward under uncertain circumstances, all this makes up for the sustainability of a civil society. So, as shown in the picture, we see civil society sustainability factors include legal and regulatory policies, foreign policies, the civic space, the intervention scalability and replicability, the resources of both the international CSOs and the member CSOs, the partner CSOs. The aforementioned image figure aims to visually provide a comprehensive representation of all the elements in a civil society's sustainability and how we need to take care, balance all these for having a sustainable civil society. The variables that affect the operations immediately are the governance and leadership, the resources, the relevance, legitimacy, and accountability, the scalability, dependability of interventions. The characteristics of civil space include open, closed, or um, in between. The regulatory and legal policies, whether they are enabling policies or restrictive policies, and the foreign policies, if I'm working from a member country, are examples of the external variables that we need to consider if we want to have a sustainable civil society. The interventions between the donors and civil society are very ad hoc project based, sometimes short term. So, civil society is frequently viewed as carrying out the development of the international CSO's agendas. Donors do not feel obligated to aid a civil society. So, it depends on the civil society organizations to ensure that the donors are brought into the picture of what is happening in the member CSOs. Therefore, it is very crucial for civil society to change its emphasis, enhance its capacity, and raise funds, preferably from domestic constituencies, so that it does not rely on international donors. 5 ways for civil society organization to help advance the sustainable development goals are: 1. To be innovative, sustainable solutions that addresses poverty. So poverty should be seen as a shortage of interconnected factors that leads to physical and psychological scarcity, lack of voice in the decision making. So all this needs to be addressed if I want to achieve the sustainable development goal. In such a circumstances, CSOs can supplement government programs for reducing poverty by providing some community based customized assistance so that the community poverty level is removed. The second is localizing the global goals and monitoring the progress in achieving the SDG. So this involves collection of data, analyzing the data, and finding where we lack in achieving the sustainable development goals. The third is promoting citizen centric collaborative governance. Co-production is a concept that refers to a strategic approach in which citizens produce or enhance already existing services. So, when I go for a citizen centric production or a citizen centric governance, then it helps me to achieve SDG. This co-production, citizens get actively involved in the public services, and because they become recipients of the development process. So it serves as an engine for a transparent cooperative governance and ensures the delivery of more inclusive public services. The fourth is advocating for the poor. So CSOs have to act as the pressure groups, a lobbying between the government and the community, so that they are able to take whatever requests are given by the community, by the marginalized, to the government, so that there is a channel present by which the flow happens and the marginalized poor people are uplifted. They have the power to persuade government to implement fresh, more effective strategies for combating the poverty and the social ills in that community. The fifth is empowering women for climate action. In most of the developing countries, especially in India and other Asian countries, there are organizations for women that are based in the community. Women work together and support each other as neighbors, and this helps the community, the society to flourish. Women's innate ability to build trust fosters a sense of community, which can be a valuable asset for fostering climate resilience. So, to conclude, as stated in SDG 16, it is critical to support an environment that allows civil society organizations to operate, participate in a responsive, inclusive, participatory, and representative type of decision making, so that there is meaningful results which helps us in achieving the SDGs. A favorable environment also entails improved resources accessibility and mechanisms for a true civil society participation. Now let us see some questions and answers in this module. Question 1. What is the role of civil society in sustainable development? Civil society and civil society organizations are widely recognized as important development actors. They fulfill roles as providers of services in development and humanitarian situations. They contribute to policy development through dialogue and advocacy. Question 2. Which is an example of a civil society organization? Examples of well-known civil society organization includes the Amnesty International, the International Trade Union Confederation, the Worldwide Fund for Nature known as WWF, the Greenpeace, and the Danish Refugee Council. So these are some of well-known civil society organizations who work for the development of the society. Is CSO and NGOs same? Very important question. CSOs is a broader framework and NGOs is one part of that. So CSOs refer to different types of non-corporate, private, voluntary institutions that promote a variety of public causes. NGOs are just one form of a CSO, though often both are interchangeably used because both sometimes mean the same, and most important, both of us work for sometimes similar causes. So CSOs is a broader term encompassing the entire civil society. NGOs is one component within the CSO. A robust civil society is the foundation for modern political parties. NGOs are the life source of a civil society. It implies NGOs act as a support for governance. Non-governmental organizations are more accountable, responsive, and take actions for the public rights. They bring about the social change. They raise the concerns for the citizens. So, to summarize, in this module, we have learned the role of civil society organizations for achieving sustainable development. We have comprehended how civil society organizations can contribute towards sustainable development. Thank you.